During my sophomore year in college, I encountered a chilling experience that still sends shivers down my spine. Set against the backdrop of a small, compact campus where every corner seemed familiar, yet held its own secrets, this incident unfolded on a particularly dreary night. As a diligent student with a rigorous class schedule, I often found myself burning the midnight oil in one of the campus buildings, grappling with complex lab assignments and intricate problem sets. On one such night, as the clock struck midnight and exhaustion crept into my bones, I decided to call it quits and packed up my belongings. The campus, usually bustling with activity, now lay eerily silent. With most lights dimmed and corridors deserted, the walk back to my dormitory felt like traversing a ghost town. A sense of unease gnawed at my insides, amplified by the ominous shadows cast by the flickering lampposts. As I ventured through the deserted courtyard, my senses heightened. I noticed a figure lurking in the shadows. Straining my eyes, I discerned the silhouette of a man, his features obscured by what appeared to be a sinister ski mask. A shiver ran down my spine, but I brushed it off as a trick of the imagination and continued my journey. However, paranoia gripped me as I sensed his presence trailing behind me. With each step, his ominous aura drew closer, casting a pall of fear over my mind. Ignoring the pounding of my heart, I quickened my pace, desperate to reach the sanctuary of my dormitory. As I neared the safety of my residence hall, a sinking feeling washed over me as I glanced over my shoulder, only to find the masked figure closing in on me with menacing determination. Panic surged through my veins, propelling me forward with newfound urgency. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my key fob, grateful for the reassuring click of the lock as I slipped inside the building. Yet, my relief was short-lived as I realized the gravity of the situation. The masked stranger was now inside the premises, his intentions unknown, and his presence a looming threat. Driven by instinct, I raced through the deserted corridors, each step echoing the frantic rhythm of my racing heart. The hollow sound of footsteps behind me served as a chilling reminder of the danger lurking in the shadows. Fueled by adrenaline, I reached the stairwell, my breaths coming in ragged gasps as I ascended the flights of stairs with reckless abandon. With every floor gained, the dread weighing upon me intensified, a silent countdown to a confrontation I dared not envision. As I reached the sanctuary of my room, my heart pounding in my ears, I dared to glance back, half expecting to find the masked intruder lurking in the shadows. Yet, the hallway remained empty, save for the deafening silence that enveloped me like a suffocating shroud. Relieved, yet shaken, I barricaded myself inside my room, the events of that harrowing night replaying in my mind like a recurring nightmare. It was only with the arrival of dawn that the specter of fear began to dissipate, replaced by a lingering sense of unease that lingered long after the masked stranger had vanished into the night. In the aftermath of that terrifying encounter, I found myself haunted by questions that lingered unanswered. Who was the masked intruder, and what compelled him to stalk the deserted corridors of our campus? Though the passage of time may have dulled the edges of that fateful night, the memory remains etched in my mind as a stark reminder of the thin line between safety and peril in the dead of night. A few years ago, during my college days, I was deeply engrossed in my studies, often spending long hours in study halls and libraries to stay on top of my coursework. Being a diligent student, I took my academic responsibilities seriously, and weekends were no exception to my pursuit of knowledge. I attended a sizable university, nestled amidst sprawling campuses and labyrinthine buildings. On one fateful Friday night, with the campus eerily quiet in the absence of bustling weekday activities, I found myself drawn to the familiar confines of a study hall where I had spent countless hours poring over textbooks and lecture notes. As I entered the deserted study hall, the silence enveloped me like a thick blanket, broken only by the soft hum of fluorescent lights overhead. With an empty classroom beckoning, I settled into a desk, my laptop and notes spread out before me like a fortress against the encroaching darkness. Hours slipped by unnoticed as I delved deeper into my studies, oblivious to the passage of time. It was only when the stillness was shattered by the faint creak of a door opening in the distance that I snapped back to reality. A jolt of unease prickling at the back of my neck. Brushing off the momentary distraction, I returned my focus to my work, dismissing the sound as a passing echo of the night. Yet, as the minutes ticked by, the gentle cadence of approaching footsteps shattered the tranquility once more, drawing my attention to the doorway. Peering through the small window, I caught sight of a figure lingering outside, their features obscured by the dim light filtering through the glass. A sense of disquiet settled over me as I watched the stranger's hesitant movements, their presence casting a shadow of uncertainty over the solitude of the study hall. Resuming my work with a renewed sense of vigilance, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as an unsettling tension hung in the air. It was then that the door creaked open once more, admitting the mysterious intruder into the room. As the stranger stepped inside, their gaze fixed ahead, I couldn't shake the nagging sense of unease that gripped me. Ignoring the knot of apprehension tightening in my chest, I attempted to return to my studies, but the stranger's unwavering stare bore into me like a weighty anchor, refusing to be ignored. Summoning the courage to break the silence, I addressed the intruder, offering a tentative inquiry into their well-being. Yet, my words fell upon deaf ears, met with a stony silence that only served to deepen my unease. With each passing moment, the tension in the room grew palpable, an invisible barrier separating us like a chasm of mistrust. Sensing the growing discomfort, I made the decision to leave, hastily gathering my belongings as I made my way towards the exit. As I stepped out into the empty hallway, a chill raced down my spine, the lingering presence of the stranger echoing in the recesses of my mind. Hastening my pace, I quickened my steps, the sound of my footsteps echoing like a drumbeat in the empty corridor. The confines of the study hall, A sense of foreboding gripped me as I heard the telltale sound of footsteps behind me. Glancing over my shoulder, I caught sight of the stranger emerging from the classroom, their presence a haunting specter in the dimly lit hallway, heart pounding in my chest. I broke into a run, the rhythmic thud of my footsteps reverberating against the cold, unforgiving walls. With each passing moment, the distance between us narrowed, the stranger's relentless pursuit driving me to the brink of panic. Reaching the entrance of the building, I burst through the doors, the crisp night air offering a fleeting sense of reprieve. Sprinting towards the safety of my car, I dared not look back, the fear of the unknown propelling me forward with desperate urgency. As I peeled out of the parking lot, the image of the stranger lingered in my mind like a haunting memory, a chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates safety from peril in the dead of night. From that moment on, the study hall remained a forbidden territory, its shadowy corridors a testament to the dangers that lurked in the darkness. Back in 2019, I found myself in a similar situation during my second year of university. Moving into a cozy apartment on the outskirts of town, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over me like a dark cloud. Being on the ground floor only heightened my sense of vulnerability, and the persistent feeling of being watched became an unwelcome companion. One eerie night, as the clock struck midnight, I was jolted awake by the unmistakable sound of my bedroom door creaking open. My heart raced as I realized that someone was trying to gain entry. But thankfully, I had the foresight to always lock my door before bed. With bated breath, I listened intently as shadows danced beneath the door, signaling the presence of an unwelcome visitor. Summoning every ounce of courage, I called out into the darkness, demanding to know who lurked on the other side. Silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by 3 chilling knocks that reverberated through the stillness of the night. Fear coiled in the pit of my stomach as I frantically reached out to my roommates, urging them to secure their doors and join me in a desperate search for the intruder. Despite our best efforts, the perpetrator remained elusive, leaving us grappling with a sense of dread that permeated the apartment like a thick fog. Each creak of the floorboards and every flicker of movement outside our windows sent shivers down our spines, a constant reminder of the threat that lurked just beyond our doorstep. But the true extent of the danger became shockingly apparent when my boyfriend, who often stayed over on weekends, narrowly escaped a potentially fatal encounter. A routine checkup at the mechanic revealed a sinister plot. Someone had tampered with his car, loosening the lug nuts on 2 of his tires with malicious intent. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, it became clear that I was the target of someone's sinister agenda. Their intentions shrouded in darkness and driven by a twisted desire to instill fear. Despite our best efforts to fortify our defenses and seek help from the authorities, the specter of danger continued to loom large, casting a shadow over our once peaceful abode.